If you go out to a customer's house and they love you and you do a terrible job on pest control, they'll pay us to send you back out again.
Welcome back to Pest Radio, the podcast where we sit down with the people building the future of the pest control industry, from operators and marketers to the companies helping pest professionals solve bigger challenges and grow smarter. I'm Faye Sebioğlu, founder of Digital Karma. We help pest control companies generate consistent leads, build stronger marketing systems, and create long-term growth through strategy, automation, and AI. Before we jump into today's conversation, I have one small ask. If you enjoy Pest Radio and find value in these conversations, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Your subscription helps us continue bringing conversations with the people shaping the future of pest control industry. Now let's get into today's episode. Today we are going to talk about something that often sounds simple but becomes incredibly difficult as companies grow. Building a business that never loses its human side. How do you preserve relationships, culture, and customer care while scaling to dozens of technicians and millions in revenue? Today's guest is Gall, co-owner of Frames Pest Control and Wildlife, a third-generation family business founded in 1972. After earning his MBA, BJ returned to the family company and now leads the business alongside with his cousin Derek. Today, Frame serves its community with more than 40 pest control technicians and 60 employed across the business, and more than 7.5 million in annual revenue. We will explore how his philosophy influences hiring, customer experiences, and leadership and long-term growth. Welcome to Pest Radio, BJ.
Nice to be here.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. You grew up around Frames Pest Control, but you didn't join the business right away, as far as I know. And Frames has been around since 1972, founded by your grandparents. So what was it like growing up around the business? When did you realize you wanted to become part of its future?
Yeah, well, growing up in the business, one of our service managers here is my cousin Tony, and we put the roof on the last office that we were in before we moved to our larger property. We were, I think, 13 or 14 years old, putting up a metal roof with my grandfather over that office. We spent our summers at their house, and the office was kind of grandfathered into a neighborhood. My cousin Derek, who I own the business with, he used to take us, my sister, my brother, our cousins, down to the local pool during the summer. So we just grew up on the property, grew up with the trucks coming in and out, and then grew up filing invoices and putting roofs on and anything else that needed to get done around the business. So kind of surrounded with it, and just seeing, my dad, my aunt, my uncle, eventually my sister, brother-in-law, and obviously my grandfather, just the incredible work ethic to grind through those first couple of years to grow that business.
So you all work together?
Yep, we still have a lot of family. I think if you count cousins and spouses of cousins, I think we still have over 10 of our 60 employees are direct kind of relatives.
How is it like working, all together with the family?
It's great. When I interview people, I always tell them it's still a family business, even though we have over 50 employees and cover a pretty big geographic territory. But I always say that comes with the sweetness of family and sometimes the tartness of family. So it's great once everybody kind of buys in, and just, we know we can all be honest with each other. We all have our best interests at heart. We can just have open and honest conversations with what we need from each other. And from that perspective, you kind of start treating our employees like that. Not really that different. Those conversations are the same with our family members as they are with our employees, because they all merge and come together. So.
I know you didn't start your career directly from your family business. You earned your MBA and spent time away before coming back to the family business, age around 30. And why was it important for you to leave first? And what perspective did that give you when you eventually returned?
Yeah, I can tell you when I left, it wasn't a plan to leave and develop myself and bring something back. Like a lot of us in the pest control industry, we kind of don't expect to be in it, right? So after moving down to Cincinnati, getting my undergrad, and then taking a job at Xavier University, I started getting my MBA. It was kind of logical for me to reach out to my family and to do projects that I needed to do. You know, we always talk around here about mutually beneficial solutions. So like if we all work together, like there's usually really creative things that we can do. And so they were helping me out, to be honest. It started with them helping me out. And then as I started to work on some of those projects, some of those case studies, and some of that research using their data, I was able to give that back to them. Once they saw that I was bringing value, that's when they kind of approached me to come back. And I, had to make that decision to stick around Cincinnati and go into data analysis or to come home. And it just seemed like a great opportunity at the time. So it worked out.
I'm curious about the next chapter also when you and Derek took over the business, and what were the first things you wanted to preserve and what were the first things you knew had to evolve?
Yeah, so Derek and I largely have been running the business probably for about 10 years, but once we started purchasing the business and then bought it out, and our parents all retired about 5 years ago, give or take, the most important thing for us was that kind of family culture. It was, we want to always kind of treat people open, honest, clear expectations, and just kind of take care of people. And we believe that if you take care of people, they'll take care of you. So it has been one of our bigger challenges as we've started to scale, is how to maintain that when we're not the ones training the technicians anymore and kind of instilling that. So it's definitely been a challenge to scale that, but we think we're getting there.
And looking back at those first years in the business and leadership, what challenged you the most that you weren't expecting?
I think coming from my MBA, walking into a business that was still largely on paper, not largely digitized or using emails or anything, I just had a list of things that I thought were no-brainers. And I was going to be like, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And I was just going to get a bunch of buy-in, right? So I think those early days, and then as we've scaled, just because the number of people we have to try to move, getting buy-in for things that seem obviously beneficial, or, to the company, and maybe even to the employees or to customers. So it's I've learned a lot. Had to work really hard at figuring out how to roll things out, how to communicate things in a certain order with certain amount and types of information depending on the stakeholder that we're working with at the time within the company. But yeah, just getting that buy-in from people who've been doing it for 40 years and making good money, and trying to make them see why it's beneficial for them to do something in a new way. So yeah, we have a lot of employees here who have still been here over 20, 25, or 30 years. So it's always been kind of bringing everybody, keeping everybody on board, and keeping the ship moving forward without letting people drop off. So.
And how would you describe your company's philosophy when it comes to building relationship with customers? And what does that look like for, one of your technicians on a typical day? I know you both do residential and commercial, so how do you describe that?
Yeah. So we're about 50-50 residential and commercial. And building that relationship with the customers, it starts before the technician ever gets to the home. And it starts with the communication with the CSRs. It starts with the notifications. The tech will show up. It's making sure that they walk through. And honestly, it comes from listening first and not seeming rushed. So if you can slow down, listen to what they have to say, even if you think you know exactly what the problem is and can get right to work. It's really about taking care of that customer first, making them feel comfortable, forming that relationship. We believe that systems are great and systems are important. If you're running EOS or another type of business system, that's great for optimization and it's great for building a business. But we believe that if you have good people, treating people well, you have good retention on the employee side, it'll lead to good retention on the customer side. And you can have all the best systems in the world, but if you don't have good people who care, they get forgotten or set aside. And so we have systems obviously in place to help everybody, but we really try to focus on that relationship, and that's them coming to the house, them being on time, them getting a notification about when we're going to be there. Obviously, not rescheduling as much as possible. Doing the niceties, bringing up the paper, bringing up the garbage cans, letting neighbors know that you're there, just to be present, for the community and be, aware of your surroundings and making sure people are aware of you. So, and then, you finish up those services, and it's making sure that, pretty much all of our services are guaranteed. We try not to even offer non-guaranteed services because we want to stand behind our work. And if there's a problem, we're going to take care of it. We're not going to ask a lot of questions.
I like that comment of yours. Even though we know what they are going to say, we listen. I think it's people wants to be listened, I guess. When they,
Yes, I'll tell you,
yeah.
whether you're selling, whether you're servicing, or whether you're reacting to a discontented, customer, most of the time they just want you to listen. And if you just listen and say, how would you like me to take care of you? They'll tell you, and they'll calm down, and they're just appreciated that you cared enough to take your time and work with them.
And when you're hiring new technicians, what qualities are you looking for beyond technical skills?
The number one thing is customer relationship experience, so customer service. We tell people it's 75% of customer service job. I tell people, if you go out to a service and you take care of their pest the first time, right away, they don't see anything that day, but they don't like you, they're canceling or they're never calling us back. Most of our services are guaranteed, but for a fact, I tell them, if you go out to a customer's house and they love you and you do a terrible job on pest control, they'll pay us to send you back out again. So, we have customers that we've done for decades, and they want that same tech, and lots of times just because they know that tech will listen to them. They know that tech knows their kids' names, or what team they like, and things like that. So, so we really look for that customer service experience first, and then obviously safety is a major concern. So people that have training or experience being on the road a lot, because obviously it's very important for everybody to get home as safely as they went out every day from their job, and that's a huge priority for us as well.
Uh,
We can teach them pest control. You can't teach somebody how to be good with people.
I agree with that. In most of, I think most of jobs, it's like this. You can teach a lot of hard skill, but soft skills, you should have that will, or it's naturally in you.
Yes, I agree.
And when you think about the entire customer journey from the first phone call you just mentioned to the follow-up after service, which part do you believe has the biggest impact on creating loyal customers?
Yeah, I don't think there is one thing that you can point to that's going to make a customer loyal, right? It's going to be that consistency. So I think it's, considering how every step of the path is going to affect that relationship. I think maybe the hardest one for service companies can be the sales, because a lot of the other spots kind of lend themselves to customer service, where the sale can, I think, often come off as selly or like a hard sale, or just kind of distasteful to a lot of customers or potential customers. So I think really making the customer that you heard them, what their problem is, that you want to take care of them, that they're confident that you're not going to sell them something they don't need, that you're going to use plain language. Your contracts aren't going to be overly complicated with a lot of, small print.
Details.
Yeah, small
Nobody
details, small
reads,
print,
but when you need it,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And so when you can just say, hey, if you have a problem, we're going to take care of it. This is what that contract says. You can read it over as many times as you want, but basically, we're going to take care of you. And if there's a problem, we're going to take care of it. And that's, I think that, just being genuine in that sales process can lead to a lot of trust being built very quickly. Whereas if you feel like you're being sold to and given, a discount, and, let me do this for you. If I do this, what if we add on that? And, if you get into the bait and switch, or you get into the hard sell, when they've already told you that maybe they're not interested, we'd rather walk away from a sale with somebody not needing our service right now, but just having a great experience. And we believe that they're going to remember us if they do have an issue, rather than trying to maybe force something or push something. So probably that sales experience is probably the one that I think more people, that it's a little bit harder to make sure you earn that trust and build that relationship with.
Is there like one process or habit your team follows that you think every pest control company should adopt?
Oh, that's a great question. Is there one process that I think
Or
every
habit,
company
it can be
or
about,
habit? Yeah.
yeah, culture, company culture or
Yeah.
philosophy, like
You know,
unique.
yeah, I think most family companies, regardless of size, and we have some great ones here in Ohio, Michigan, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia. There's some great family businesses that are pretty large. I think, the biggest thing is just caring about the customer more than you care about the bottom line. Care about your employees more than you care about the bottom line. The bottom line will come, especially in multi generational families. You don't need to grow that fast if you're going to be around for 30 years. 30 years from now, you're going to be huge, even if you only grow a small percentage, right? So if you keep that in mind, and you're taking care of your employees, you're taking care of the people in your community. I always say, that building that relationship extends to other drivers on the road that maybe cut you off or that you accidentally cut off. You need to be building those relationships constantly with every single person who sees you, every single person that sees our trucks. It's the entire community. It's not just our customers or just our employees. And so, yeah, if you just care first, the rest of it kind of takes care of itself, I think.
We have just talked about people, culture, customer experience, and now I'm curious how that translates into the way you measure success inside the business. So, when you are evaluating the health of your business, what metrics matter most to you and why?
Yeah, so we measure Google reviews, NPS scores, safety scores. We obviously have commission, but we don't over reward commission. We try to reward it appropriately, but not to a degree again that would lead to hard selling or distasteful experience with that. So yeah, every step of the way, whether it's commission, whether it's those different scores that we watch, we don't do production metric, right? So we obviously, for our service managers, they're keeping track of production as a team. But that team's there to help each other out. That service manager is there to be of service to their team 99% of the time, right? So it's really at the technician level, at the CSR, internal, inside sales, it's really just focusing on, hey, if you're being nice to a customer, if you're getting good score, the other stuff will follow. That means, typically you're going to have a productive day. Typically you're going to have retention. Typically, these things are going to happen. So, yeah, so if we just have everybody focusing on the smaller things, we'd find that we don't have to worry about maybe the bigger things like production. They kind of take care of themselves. We obviously, at the upper levels, still pay attention to it to make sure there's no red flags, but we don't want that to be like the daily driver of our technicians' thoughts and thoughts and processes. We really want it to be, how can you take care of the customer and how can you better your team that day.
And how do you balance investing in technology and systems while continuing to invest in your people? I know it's very popular now and we are using it, everybody is using it, but human touch is also very important. So how have you balanced it?
I'll tell you, it's a challenge for sure. And before we even get to AI, the we've over the last 18 months we've rolled out several apps on top of the apps that we already had. And I can tell you burnout is real. App burnout or switching CRMs or all that stuff. It takes a toll on it's stressful for the entire organization, both as individuals and then also, as an organization, as far as, maybe where things get held up or, backlogged. So it's an absolute weekly and monthly challenge for us to continue training on those things, working with those partners to make sure that they're meeting our expectations and evolving in ways that are going to benefit us in the future, whether it's eliminating some apps, including them in another partner's app or what have you. But the for a while, it's going to still be, I think, pest control. You see a person show up at your house or you call in, I think getting a real person as quickly as possible, if that's what you're looking for, is going to be the kind of a differentiator, like it has been, I think, for a while. I mean, obviously, very large companies, whether it's airlines or other things, there is they've been automated for a while, right? People have always said I don't want Comcast or the media companies. It's just like it's a terrible experience. Utility companies, whatever it is, right? It's all automated. So that's been around for a while, and I think until AI gets to the point where you truly can't tell in any situation that it's not AI, I think people are still gonna largely prefer that interaction with a human being. So I think that's still going to be a differentiator for another 5 to 10 years at least as those things continue to evolve. And I think if you're staying ahead of those things, anything that you do implement, will not, nobody will lose jobs. It'll just be, through natural attrition or, just not having to hire new people. So we think they're great tools for everybody, but without people, you can't, you're not building relationships. And we're here to build relationships. So
I always see that we have been, we work with a lot of local companies, pest control companies. Not I think, but people wants to do business with real people. So human touch is very important, especially your local involvement. So everybody's talking about, we should invest that, pay per click, SEO, which we are doing, but also you need to be part of the community, and that means a big human touch, right?
no, absolutely. And I think you even see it in AI search results and things like that is even when AI is, scraping the internet to see who's credible or who's, they're scraping the entire internet. They want to
Yes.
see that you're on the Ronald McDonald House, that you're a partner and you provide free services to them and that you donate to local schools, that you're on the digital bulletin board of 50, churches and
It's
religious
also,
institutions.
yes, like reputation
You're partners
management.
with
Yeah.
University of Michigan and Eastern Michigan, University of Toledo, the Toledo Mud Hens. It wants to see those connections because just like the real world, it recognizes that those connections are valuable and that's what gives you that credibility. So even when you translate that real world network to a digital platform, it still wants to see that sense of community and those touch points.
I think it will become more important also with the upcoming years because there will be more technology. What is missing is more attractive also. I guess so. I don't know.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time, for people in our family and friends that once everybody has AI building their resume off of your
The
job posting, every resume looks perfect. Like so
Everything
so
looks perfect. Photos, resumes,
oh
content.
yeah, I got hair. I have hair in my resume picture, yeah. So no, it's yeah, and I'm 6'3", and it's great. But yeah, but once that's the case, then it's all kind of meaningless, right? And so it really comes back to almost pre-technology, where it's going to be again, who do you know? Who have you built relationships with? Who can vouch for you as a trusted individual? And I think a lot of that's going to cycle back around.
And what keeps you excited about the business after all these years? Because, you come from a family business, and your company has been there since 1972. So what excites you most now?
Yeah, it was probably 2 years ago in Denver. I was at the Pest World, and I was talking to a owner of a very large company down in Georgia, and we were going to Red Rock for a concert together, and we were in the back of the bus, and we were chatting up, and I was kind of like, "What? Why do you even still do this? Why do you even still work in the business?
Hmm.
You could do whatever you wanted every day. You still work in the business." And when he said, well, when I was in the business in 25, this is what interests me, and 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. And he went through all those steps. And I think that's one of the great parts about this industry is there's lots of different ways to run a business. There's lots of different kind of cultures that can be successful. And there's always something new to focus on. And so Derek and I love to find win-win solutions for whether it's customers, employees, nonprofits we work with. And I think finding those win-win opportunities and staying curious about the next thing, right? So whether it's the next thing coming into our industry or the next step of our business, because at every step, whether it's going from 1 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 50, there's new HR laws, there's new, rules and laws and regulations coming out constantly. You get to a point where you get to start maybe buying some services from people or buying companies, and there's always evolutions to the finances of all that. So, it's just great that it seems like every time we accomplish something, we give ourselves a quick pat on the back, but it seems like there's always a new mountain to climb and something new to learn. And it's just really interesting. It just keeps us going.
Is there something, I'm sorry,
along the way. Yeah.
Is there something you're particularly curious right now or exploring right now that you think could shape the future of your company?
Yeah, I mean, one, the biggest thing for us is as we scale, we're, out of Toledo, Ohio, but we service Ann Arbor and Lansing, which is over an hour away. We service Detroit, we service Cleveland, Ohio. And so the big thing is, how do we build our company structure and use technology to continue to allow people that are more and more satellite and more remote than they've ever been to feel like a part of the company and to feel more and more like family. So that's always something that's, like I said, every part of our decision and growth, that thought is like, okay, how do we do this with this, keeping this culture in mind? Other than that, I think it is really, we've bought businesses or book of business from companies. We've integrated them, into our CRM, and just really working with other companies, whether it's, partnering with them to cover a big region. Maybe we cover part of that region, they cover that part of that region, whether it's us, buying them out and incorporating them and finding win-win situations there that maybe might be more than just like, here's a check, actually bringing them into the family and working with them in those ways, I think are, some of the big things that kind of interest me right now. And I know Derek is working diligently at evolving our commercial sales program. We're 50-50. We've had a lot of success in the commercial sales space, but to again scale that and have that be more than just, a specialty of a couple people, and kind of building that out to something that we can do in Cleveland, Detroit, Ann Arbor, Lansing, Findlay, Ohio, and replicating some of those processes that we've, been successful at kind of implementing at home.
I'm curious about this commercial sales program.
Me too. So he's working hard, and we're always out there kind of networking and talking with people and getting feedback. My general understanding is companies our size usually have a dedicated sales team.
Yes, they do.
And we do not.
Oh,
we do
that's
not
interesting, but you are doing really good.
Yeah, so we do some sales training with our technicians and obviously our internal sales team. We have sales expectations for our service manager, our director of operations. Obviously, even for Derek and I, we have our own, internal goals. We obviously encourage technicians.
How do you maintain the sales or retention with commercial companies and also, gaining new commercial companies accounts? How do you do that? You do that? You together with Eric, or how do you do that?
Derek spearheads it, but it's really company-wide. And again, it's, we do little things like when we put orders in at restaurants for me and my family, like a reservation or we're ordering something. I don't say BJ Gall. I say it's for Frames Pest Control.
Oh, okay.
Even if it's for, but honestly, mostly it's just building those relationships with the customers we currently have and letting them know where we're available to service, and just asking like, hey, do you know anybody that could use our services? And business owners know other business owners. And really, if people like you and you're taking care of them, they're more than happy to give you a referral. And you don't have to be a big sales guy that knows all the tricks, to get somebody to sign on the dotted line, right? Again, if you're building those relationships and you can have those conversations and they're not awkward because it's easy to ask for that referral because you're friends with the people, right? And so I think when you're building those relationships, some of that stuff, I don't want to say comes easy, but it comes easier.
And I know from the outside, people often see a successful company. And what is one challenge of leading a business at this stage that most people don't realize?
I think the biggest challenge running a company of this size is the communication throughout the organization. You get a lot of telephone that
Hmm.
starts to be played. You intended to train one thing and they take it a little bit differently than what you really wanted them to take away. They took away something a little different. I'm going to go back to caring. We've had customers, we've stopped doing certain services, tried to transition them onto newer services. Um, we've had people that we haven't done residential price increases for 10 years. We did them for the first time this year in 10 years. And we go through these things and we have people that reach out and like they call us sellouts and things like that. And we're always like, well, loyalty works both ways. We can't get to a point where we're losing money on you. We do our best. But I think that's the hardest part for us is showing whether it's customers or employees that we still care when maybe we just can't make that exception anymore because we're too big. An exception now becomes a standard that we have to follow. And so, it was easier when we were smaller to make those exceptions and to know what the details of a situation somebody was going through and things like that. And, it gets more and more challenging to show our employees that we really do care. And even when maybe there's something going on that they don't understand or they don't appreciate or that they don't like, and we've done things that are just intentionally supposed to be positive for our employees, and it just we have to roll it out, and then we have to set up individual meetings and follow-ups to those individual meetings, because the more and more ownership gets removed from the feet on the ground, I think the more and more it's assumed that every change is pro company, at the expense of the employees or something. And we've never taken a benefit away. In the 50 years we've been in business, we've only added benefits. But for new employees who have not had that experience or have had negative experience with other employers, that they immediately like try to figure out what the angle is, right? So yeah, just really reinforcing that there are certain things that we have to put in place. There are certain rules and standards that we have to follow. We can't be infinitely flexible, but we are here, except for in those rare times where something's going wrong for whatever reason. Other than those times, from the top down, the top's here to serve down. We're not here to, boss and order and things like that. So I think we're getting better and better at it now that we have been more this size for a little while, where we've started to figure it out, but it's been a real challenge the last couple of years.
And if you could sit down with yourself on day one of owning the business, what advice would you give yourself? Is there like a lesson you wish you had learned much, much earlier?
Work smarter, not harder. That's probably a little bit cliche, but I think I spent a lot of time working really hard, long hours, and not prioritizing my time for the
Mm.
highest value, projects or items or work. And I think that time, just like, time is the most valuable thing, and just like anything
Yes.
valuable, it done early, you know, it grows exponentially. It doesn't grow incrementally. I just think if I had better time management and prioritizing 15 years ago, I kind of sometimes wonder where I would be or we would be now. So I'd say, yeah, really prioritizing your time, cataloging it, holding yourself accountable to it, and making sure you have your priorities in place, I think, is a great use of your time and really, helps expedite things.
Before we wrap up, I would like to get your perspective on what is next. What is next for the company? I know you are trying to implement a commercial sales program. What else?
Yeah, so we are pretty new. Cleveland's our newest market.
Hmm.
We've been there over a year now. So really developing that market is really key to us reaching our goals. Our goal starting last year, beginning of last year, was to double in size by, the end of 2030. We think really focusing on the Cleveland area and then second the Detroit market are going to be our biggest focuses to reach those goals. But yeah, I think and that comes down to building those relationships in those areas where we aren't as entrenched and haven't been as entrenched for as long. So it's finding the right people and, I think once you find the right people and they're a fit and they know you have their back and they know all you need to do is go out there and build relationships, the rest will take care of itself. The dominoes start to fall, which they have. So, yeah, we're really excited for that kind of geographic growth going from there.
And your company has been serving customers for more than 5 decades. So, what do you hope people will say about frames another 50 years from now on?
I think I would love to have people say that they put people in front of profits, that they loved and were passionate about pest control. It wasn't just a business, it was a lifestyle for them and everybody who they brought along for the ride and that helped take us along for the ride. Yeah, just Derek's really great. He's one of the things he's like, let's just make pest control fun again, right?
And
Pest
you
control is a
have a
great.
very authentic icon, logo, you can see on your branding.
Yeah, we've had companies, we've bid against that were like, oh, we don't need cartoon characters to sell jobs. And I go, I don't need to either, but it's a lot more fun
Yeah.
when you do, right? So if you want to be the all business, the corporate shill or whatever it is, and you want to come out here and do your thing, that's great. And a lot of people like that. And a lot of people, we like it to be genuine and fun. And we also just say it is just pest control. So we can do pest control. We want to have a relationship with you and make sure you're taken care of and not worry about, again, the fine details on a contract. If you need something, we're here for you. So, yeah, I think just that we were genuine for 50 years from now, it'd be 100 years, that we were genuine and we put people in front of profits.
So, Vijay, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you for sharing all your story, family story, third generation family business, your perspective on customer experience, and the values that continue to shape French pest control and wildlife. And we really appreciate you joining us on Pest Radio.
It was absolutely my pleasure, Faye. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you to everyone listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to Pest Radio for more conversation with the leaders shaping the pest control industry. Thank you.